Welcome to Black History Monday, the show that takes you on a journey through Black history to expose our contributions, as well as many racial massacres hidden from history. So sit back, free your mind, and follow me on this journey. Fearful of the growing power of the black citizens of Atlanta, the white elites in the city began using the local newspaper to push their racially motivated opinions. The governor's race of 1906 was especially repugnant, as various newspapermen utilized their position to help their campaigns by spreading false information about the state of race relations in Atlanta. A favorite of theirs, any lurid tale of a pure white woman being assaulted by a black man. In late summer, a series of racially inflammatory newspaper articles, some in papers affiliated with the candidates, began appearing. The articles reported what were almost certainly fictitious incidents of black men attacking and raping white women. At a time when just looking at a white woman could send a black man to jail, those reports incited deep animosity among the city's whites. During the summer, white citizens called for a law that would allow lynching, while news of a black crime wave worried wealthy white Atlanta citizens. A grand jury later indicted 2 African Americans for raping Ethel Lawrence and her aunt. There was already growing racial tension in a rapidly changing city and economy, with competition for jobs, housing, and political power. The tensions rose to a breaking point on September 22nd. Eventually, white mobs began terrorizing majority black neighborhoods, setting fire to any black business they could find, and beating and shooting those unlucky enough to cross their path. By the time a heavy rain dispersed most of the crowds, the state militia had shown up and restored order. The violence did not end until after Governor Joseph M. Terrell called in the Georgia National Guard, and African Americans accused the Atlanta Police Department and some guardsmen of participating in the violence against them. The violence lasted over the next 2 days, and in the end, as many as 40 African Americans and 2 whites lost their lives. Unofficial reports ranged from 10 to 100 black Americans killed during the riots. According to the Atlanta History Center, some black Americans were hanged from lampposts. Others were shot, beaten, or stabbed to death. They were pulled from streetcars and attacked on the street. White mobs invaded black neighborhoods, destroying homes and businesses. Newspapers around the world reported the events. The French Le Petit Journal described the lynchings in the USA and the massacre of Negroes in Atlanta. The Aberdeen Press and Journal in Scotland described it under the headline, Race Riots in Georgia. And the London Evening Standard in the UK described it under the headlines Anti-Negro Riots and Outrages in Georgia. The final death toll of the conflict is to this day unknown and disputed. The next year, the new Democratic governor, M. Hoke Smith, introduced legislation designed to disenfranchise African Americans by raising barriers to voter registration. It was made law in 1908. Local histories by whites ignored the riot for decades. It was not until 2006 that the event was publicly marked on its 100th anniversary. The next year, the Atlanta riot was made part of the state's curriculum for public schools. Have any of you ever heard of this? It should have been in the curriculum for all schools in the U.S. Once again, the same historical story plays out, and it's the same outcome. White rage, lies, and jealousy, followed by the destruction of a black community and a cover-up for decades. We are not allowed to learn about our history, but we have to learn about European history and how they systematically conquered all black nations. Then we have to deal with those of us who are completely brainwashed. If we are consistently taught to remember the atrocities that happened to white people, why are the atrocities that happened to black people buried in historical hiding places? maybe the truth really does hurt. Next week, Monday, we will continue on this journey as we walk through the doors of history. Make sure you subscribe, like, and share. Click the notification bell so you'll be notified when we upload new videos. Find The Awakening Frequency on Twitter, Instagram, and on Facebook. Research is key. Always do your own research and never just listen to what people tell you. We are The Awakening Frequency. Out of the millions of potential subscribers, we just want to reach one so each one can teach one. Peace.